Okay. This is session 2 of Islands of Sanity in a Mad World, a course that will be at least a year long when it's all said and done. Who knows, it may go on forever. Um, we're on Saturday, April 19th, and this is on the Pacific Coast where I am. It's 10:34 in the morning. So this session is scheduled for 10:30 to 11:30 here in Pacific time zone. So you'll have to adjust for wherever you are. And this recording is specifically for the people who are signed up with and connected with this course, but are unable to be here live. So that's what the audience is for the recording. And I'd like to just welcome Michael Sheffield. We've just spent the first hour together from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we had a chance to practice a bit with some what could be called a rapid fire way of checking in with somebody that you'd like to check in with, but you only got a couple minutes, but you'd like it to be a little bit more heartful, a little bit more meaningful than just, hey, how you doing kind of a thing. So we've been practicing that in the first hour with a bit of other stuff tossed in. And Michael, I'm just curious if you would introduce yourself, just like for everybody to know where you're from, and what has you be here with a bunch of folks on a call that is meant to be of support to those who are either aware of or acceptant of human-caused collapse of Earth and human systems. That's the shorthand I use to talk about what this work is about. I'm curious if you just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what has you be here.
Thank you. Well, my name's Michael Sheffield. I'm a counselor in the state of Virginia, and I have been increasingly aware of, some of the problems we face in our country and the world at large over the last maybe 4 or 5 years as I've gone down this profession. I started the counseling profession about 5 years ago, and mostly I keep to myself and my clients and my family.
Mhm.
But even within that very small circle, there is lots of room for divide and um, difference as opposed to similarity. And if I think I know one thing about dealing with collapse is that we don't want to be separate. If we're going to have to deal with it, we want to be. So they, saw your email while I was out on a walk, and I said, "Hey, let's see what's going on here."
Right.
And so, as much as anything, it's curiosity. I like to hear people's different groups' ideas of what they're doing to sort of face the challenges that we have coming our way.
Got it.
So that'd be that.
All right. Well, welcome here. Good to have you here. And if you are at all inclined to, go more than dipping your toe in the water here, so to speak, there is kind of a parallel body of course materials that we have posted in our community space online. And if any of that sounds like you'd like to be able to just check that out as well, you might want to uh, stick around for a little while after this session, and I can orient you to how to get to it and so on. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
And something I was noticing, Michael, was it looks like the breeze has kicked up, and when the leaves were moving a lot, it meant probably a lot of breeze, and it was also having your voice break up a little bit. So you may
Okay.
want to just be aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. And I don't know, but I think that might be Kara. who has shown up. I can see is that the car that I think it is? I don't know if
No,
you're
new here.
sorry.
I'm new here. No,
You
I
are.
don't think I know you from.
Okay, so sorry. I
That's okay.
have a very dear friend who actually lives in a place that looks like
Oh,
the photograph.
uh-huh.
So my apologies for having the wrong person in mind.
That's okay. Thank
And
you.
Cara, would you mind just letting us know who you are and what had you
Absolutely.
be on a call like this? And
Oh, yeah. No, I've been receiving your emails for a while, and I think it was Andrew Harvey. The course I took with him recommended you.
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Oh,
I was just curious to see what everyone's talking about and sharing, and I'm I don't know. I'm dealing with in my own way and active in my own way. I'm very connected to nature and teach and practice a form of Celtic shamanism. So that's my therapy.
mhm.
And yeah, um, what else? Oh, I live on the Pacific coast. That's where that picture is.
All right.
Thank
I knew that.
you.
Well, a warm welcome to you. And as I mentioned to Michael, if you are interested in finding out about the course materials and what's kind of supports these every 2 weeks sessions, please stick around at the end, after we finish up this particular session. And I'm happy to orient you as much as you'd like to that.
Thank you.
All right. Ah, I'm again queuing my system. I tend to get a little revved up when there's new people, and I'd love to have you introduce yourself. And then I know that the time is ticking in our 1 hour session. And so I'm calming myself down. I'm slowing myself down. I'm cueing my own system with slowing down my breathing, slowing down my thinking a bit, and obviously slowing down the pace of my own speaking. And each of these things are very powerful and long-standing cues in my system, which I'm very, very thankful for. They imply something that if I could just share a little bit of my experience that has me offer this work out is I've actually been collapse aware and collapse acceptant since I was a teenager, which was many decades ago. And back then, it was literally um, interpreted as crazy to be talking about human caused collapse of Earth and human systems. But the messages that I was getting from quite unusual sources, but they were vivid sources and vivid messages, um, was that that is indeed what was going to happen. So this was in the mid 70s. And it was a very clear set of messages that told me that we would be taking down our own human systems, and we would also be destroying Earth systems as well. And I had to really piece together and seek out, very actively seek out any kind of mentorship, any kind of teaching, any kind of at least resonance with these powerful and daunting messages that I was getting. And through a couple of the more grand scale life events that shifted me to being more and more able to cue my system primarily energetically, but also with regard to my feeling body as well. Um, those remarkable events in my life and that kind of progression of greater and greater capacity and discernment and ability to volitionally shift my state of being. Um, but it's saved my life more times than I can count. And it has always seemed like a valuable skill set, but really didn't have much reason to share it with people until about 15 years ago. But then, very really, about 10 years ago, which was marked the start of this body of work and my connection with a number of pioneering figures in this collapse-aware community. So I'm just again cueing my system, slowing it down. The messages are quite strong here in this place in myself. And I'm hoping that you are orienting yourself to the deeper places in yourself while I'm doing my version over here. And I'm wanting to do that because, as I mentioned last hour, particularly since the start of this year, everything's been accelerating and intensifying over the 10 years that I've been offering these courses and coaching and resources and so on. But since the turn of this year, the messages have been absolutely energetically screaming that this is the last ditch if we want to expand our capacities to be present in the face of larger and larger stressors. This is the time to do it. And if you're lucky enough to be able to find other people with whom you resonate, kindred spirits, if you're able to connect with other people on this path of expansion of capacity, all the better. I just can't imagine a more important um, set of elements to be integrating into our lives together at this time. So this may or may not be your people on this screen or the living resilience stuff or the podcast and so on. These may or may not be your people. These may or may not be your resources, the ones that really resonate with you. But I'm very, very pleased that you're choosing to spend time with us here and particularly for bringing your already inborn and perhaps cultivated skills and capacities. This is really time to find our people, one way or another. Cindy, you were just sharing about how you're getting yourself to every one of these protest movements as or events, as many as you can. That for some of us will be that's our people, and that's a prime, ripe arena to find my people in a place like that. And we were just last hour, for those who are just checking in with us now, we were practicing a way of checking in with people who are our people, people with whom we share some language and we share some practices that make it easy, even when we're just unbelievably busy in our lives, full life. And nobody here has a lot going on in life, right? No, no busyness going on. Yeah. And so I wanted to orient, really just to underscore some of the words that So I'm just looking for a screen and going to bring it up for you. Some of the words that are in every one of those invitations that you get, either the morning before these sessions or some of the other ones that we put out in between the Saturdays. And I just want to remind us really what's at the core of this work. And I'm going to say some words now that I'm hoping will resonate with you, or if they don't directly resonate with you, I'm hoping you will bring up your words for the things that we're about to talk about, just briefly. Okay, you should have sort of an orange-brown screen. Is that true?
Yep.
Great, thank you. So this is just a little excerpt of that regularly scheduled invite that goes out to you before these Saturday sessions. And one of the words that I particularly want to underscore here is soul. And that's there in the center of this orange-brown screen thing. And it's in conjunction with the other elements that we assert here in this body of work, that what got us into these um, global human-caused predicaments that we're facing is a disconnection from each of the four things articulated there, from deeper self, from other people, from earth, and from soul. And I'm going to just throw out an idea here. This is me planting a seed for really every one of the sessions from here for however long this goes, at least through September of this year. We're going to be, each session, we will have a deepening, an opportunity to reconnect with one or more of these four items: deeper self, other people, earth, and soul. And for those who might have checked out the course materials for this month, a long-standing, a deeply honored mentor of mine in terms of all things soul and grief. He's a really remarkable pioneer of bringing very large-scale community grieving ritual. He's a therapist and calls himself a soul activist. So Francis Weller is the person I'm talking about. And again, for those who have connected with the course materials for this month, his is one of the first videos that you'll see. It's a remarkable interview with Francis Weller. And so I'm wondering if there's somebody who would be willing to read out the first of the white letters that have a little star in front of them, a little talking point, like how can we reclaim? Is there somebody who would do that?
I wouldn't mind
Thank you, please.
if I can make my English understandable. Let me just. How can we reclaim a felt sense of center in our daily lives when our world is committed to stealing that center at every turn?
Yes, thank you. Particularly relevant right now, and particularly here in the USA. Is there another person who could do the second one?
I can do that.
Yes, thank you.
How can we reclaim an experience of trust, mutual care, and community when these times are so deeply polarized?
Thank you. And someone for the third?
How can we reignite a profound sense of belonging, purpose, and contacting the sacred in our daily lives, even as we face ever-growing signs of human-caused collapse of both Earth and human systems?
Yes, Richard, thank you. And someone for the last one?
How can we begin to deeply feel the unmetabolized grief, rage, fear, and ultimate joy that underlies these troubled times?
Beautiful, thank you. So why I'm revisiting this invitation, again, I've sent it out every couple of weeks, like, so what's the big deal? What I'd like to point out to you, and just I offer this, not that I have the right way to interpret what's going on in the USA, but I want to just relay my particular concerns and my particular context for these elements. I get them as part of this invitation. I'm happy those words are in there. They still are a remarkable fit. And what I'd like to suggest is that we, again, my apologies out to the folks who are in a country other than the USA, but I hope you will listen for how this actually is fairly obvious to me that this is a tide that is soon to go international if it hasn't already in a country near you. And that is here in the States, it's called the movement to eliminate woke or wokeness.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
This is not just a casual point in conversation that you could talk about with your neighbors or whatever. This is actually a serious and quite impactful commitment from the alliance of groups that are behind the Trump administration. One of those groups could be called the Christian Nationalists. These are the people who drafted the overall plan for this administration called Project 2025. Again, my apologies. This is not usually a political oriented body of work. This is not the usual stuff we talk about here. But what I'm trying to relay in this session and every session beyond here is that if we are not working on reconnecting ourselves with deeper self, other people, earth, and soul, that the war on woke that I'm trying to point at, that is the backbone of this Project 2025 program in this administration, will actually be the justification for mass oppression, mass, in our case, deportations of not only immigrants, but US citizens at will with no due process, with the creation of concentration camps, both foreign and domestic. The decimation of the fabric of our culture here in the States, and then again, the likely expansion of that to other countries as well. So the stakes are extraordinarily high. And so this work will always have these elements off to the side to point at the political pieces, the daily news cycle pieces, and so on. But that is not really our focus. For me, our focus is what are the soul elements? What are your relationship with Earth elements? What are your relationship elements with other people, and what is the level of connection or reconnection that is available to you with your own deeper self. These are ways of talking about the inner work of collapse that we're going to be focusing on here for all the months to come. And again, the stakes are extraordinarily high. I'm just going to mention one piece that is particularly heartbreaking for me. Ironically, I'm not a parent, but I've done a large amount of work with troubled teens, young parents, and community development programs for at-risk youth for decades. And I've always seen how critically important childcare is to be able to raise healthy children. And that's always, like healthcare in general here in the States, it's extraordinarily problematic. It's basically unaffordable and just excruciating for young parents to be able to figure out how to make that happen. And in the past couple of days, the Trump administration has basically eliminated the entire budget of what's called Head Start here in the US, in which that is subsidized child care. So I'm bringing that up to be able to scan for ourselves, not so much to get into a heady conversation about this political party is good and this political party is bad, or this is the newest atrocity that's happening in the administration. It's really unfortunately normalized here in the US now, and it doesn't it promises to do nothing but intensify and accelerate. So it is not my intention that we are going to spend a lot of time with those news cycle events. But what I would like us to do in the name of this thought experiment that we started last hour, which is you bumped into a fellow kindred spirit on the street, you know you've both got just a couple of minutes to check in with each other. And you want it to be something more than, hey, how you doing? Fine. How you doing? Fine. And off you go. That even if you have a limited amount of time with a kindred spirit, with a bit of shared language, there's a possibility you could share and really give a more vivid impression and share in a more vivid and somatic way to be able to deepen, even in a short amount of time, your connection with this other person. So I'm going to stop sharing screen now. All right, just breathe in here for a moment. So I don't know how many of you are aware that we also have a podcast that is in parallel. It offers some support resources for these sessions as well. And it's a YouTube channel called The Poetry of Predicament. So if anybody, let's see, at some point, let's see. Cindy, could I ask you a favor? Would you mind writing that in the YouTube channel, Poetry of Predicament, please? Thank you very much. So in the next week or so, I have a number of pieces that I will be posting that will complete a series that I've already started on the Christian nationalists who have been playing a decades long game to
Mhm.
be in to infuse themselves at every level of U.S. government. And for me, it is quite a disturbing uh, infusion. Their influence is extraordinary, and the alliance that they've created is multidimensional. They brought in allies that are very unusual for them. That has never happened before. Those allies you might recognize as some people call them the broligarchs, the people who are at the highest end of the tech industry, and that is first probably most visible in terms of the AI race that's going on to the tune of trillions of dollars and massive press and so on. But more disturbingly, both the Christian nationalists and the broligarchs are very firmly committed to this war on woke, the war on having any sensitivity to other human beings instead of a very individualistic neoliberal perspective. And that is like a like a number of pieces that we've already talked about last hour, just a very, very disturbing alliance. And they have what appears to be an unlimited um, amount of funding and access to the levers and dials, for sure, of the US governance to be able to make their particular agenda happen. Why I keep bringing that up and why I keep looping it into this conversation today is that this hopefully will mark a whole new level of soul work here. And with that soul work, I don't know of a more effective and powerful resistance to that war on woke, to that war on empathy. Those of you who may have seen my first 3 episodes about the Christian nationalist agenda that I'm talking about will know that there are the elements of what I'm sharing now and the roots of how they became ensconced the way they have. Um, and hopefully will also bridge to the usefulness of us here in this environment, putting our attention on soul work. So that's enough of that. Thank you for listening to that. Just important context. So what I'd like to ask is that if we could spend our remaining time in this session offering the words, the context that we might individually share, the words that you might use to share what are the elements that constitute soul work that would deepen our ability to relate and connect with each other at a level of soul. That I know that that word is quite charged. If you're in particular religious context, soul can have a very different meaning than mine. I'm not a particularly religiously involved person. For me, the level of soul is at the core of my relation, my ability to relate, my experience of relating at every level with other people, with Earth, with, a way I like to share it is that it's these implicit senses, these deeply ingrained senses that we can call soul, that you and I could be standing on a beach like Kara's photograph there,
Mhm.
and we can be
Beautiful.
looking out at the sunset, and we can not have to not share a word, but we can look over at each other and both be in tears. This is the level of soul. It's the ineffable. And I'm curious if you would join me in a sharing round robin style of what are elements of soul or soul work that come to you when this prompt, when this request for sharing is offered up. What is soul work for you? How do you know that you have a more soulful or even heartful connection with another person? Yeah, Richard.
Okay. Uh, for me, I would call it being real, just really, just being real with another person and speaking from my heart and expressing my truth, whether that's just a real personal thing or something about the planet or something about the state of the nation or whatever. Just getting past that superficial level of non-communication that usually passes as communication. Uh, I find that superficial level pretty tiresome. But I did want to mention one other thing that's real important for my soul work right now, and that is I've been watching a lot of nature documentaries on TV, on PBS and in other places streaming, and just really, I mean, in addition to spending time out in nature myself, but really kind of getting the incredible beauty of this planet and the amazing intricacy of all the systems and the way everything is interconnected. Some of these nature shows really do a good job of showing that. And I find that very deeply inspiring on a soul level. It touches me a lot. And somehow it's almost like a healing energy for me. So I'll just
Yeah.
throw that in there too. That's it.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yes.
I'll just go very quickly. I think very much echo just what Richard said. I think it is that sort of bravery and honesty sometimes to articulate our truth and to face the uncomfortable parts of that, which I don't find easy. I'm not great at being honest around my disagreements or my strength of emotion about things sometimes. If it means not always currying favor. So I think that, and yeah, I think I go to a men's Francis Weller grief group once a month. So we do a fair bit of work on all this stuff. Um, so yeah, just trying to be brave and honest. I think I'm trying to hold some regenerativeness in the face of all that. Trying to keep. I don't know. Faith is quite important to me, and I think in the face of all that, holding some faith to be regenerative and keep going. I was reading a story about a doctor in Palestine today who's been, on the front line for 19 months, and they've got no resources, no buildings, no hospitals left. Um, you know, and every day she still turns up, as it were, to try and deal with. She was talking about so many there's no everyone's having to cook on open fires, and so many people are getting burns because they end up burning their hands, and just trying to keep going. And I thought, wow, yeah, that's it.
It's brilliant, Chris. I'm envious actually of what you were describing as I think you said weekly
Monthly.
monthly men's group including
A men's group. Did you say a men's group?
A men's Francis Weller men's grief group, yeah.
yeah.
And we look at 5 different portals
a
of
men's grief group. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, I appreciate so much he shares, and because the soul work is really important and impactful to me. And I shared this quote of Rumi's, it's not mine. Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense.
That's so beautiful.
That is in my heart when I think of soul work. And on a personal level, and also on, I guess, on a professional level, I'm striving to always have the spiritual aspect of my being, my soul, aligned and integrated in everything that I do, rather than having my soul over here, my spiritual work over here, and the rest of my life over there. And I feel like that's part of the answer that we're looking for, is this integration of our soul. Yeah. And so I don't know if it's really hard to do, but I loved what Everett, you said earlier, and I won't be able to quote you, but I feel like it was so impactful. You said, I feel the sense of sadness that the tyrants of the world, that there is no one that loves them enough to stop them.
Yeah.
And that was, you had a lot of soulful things to say, Everett, and I really appreciate that. But that one really stuck with me because I think that it is true. Like, we stand by complicit in that we don't see them as having souls. At least I often don't. Like, because there's so much evil and soullessness that is created in their tyrannical work that they're doing in the world, that we don't do anything about it. We don't love the soul nature that they must have because they're human beings, even as disconnected as they are from it. But anyway, that is where this goes for me. So
Beautiful. Cindy, thank you.
I'm going to try to speak up a little louder since I am still outside, and last time the wind kind of got in the way. But what sort of has shown up for me while listening is that probably anything that comes from me now is going to be repeating a lot of the same of what each of you said, because I think that there's a heart connection and everything that everybody's sort of tuned into right now, and that's why it's different words, but it's the same message. And so what my mind was giving me was that soul work is a willingness to show up to the fullness of the present moment, whatever it brings, even when it gets scary. And I mean, even saying that brings up like almost fearful, tearful emotion, because I've been in some present moments that have been really hard. And soul work is, when you're with people that reciprocate and are on that frequency, it's connecting the heart in that present moment, even when it's challenging. But a lot of times Most of the people that we're going to come into contact with and have an opportunity to do soul work with are stuck on the level of emotion and senses, the body, and they don't know how to be with the present moment. So we have to be willing and able to try to bring them into the present moment. And that is soul work on two levels, when someone is in frequency with you and when someone's not. Kind of got to know how to get there and how to deepen it and how to face it, even when it's scary. And I think that's really, it's not saying anything different than what everybody else has already said here. But we are all the same. We're just on different levels of sameness in terms of how we're trying to get there. The tyrants and the despots, as we call them, they're just stuck on the level of senses and emotion. And their path to dealing with those is one of thinking that power is the way to minimize and or defeat the senses and the emotions they don't like. That's my perception. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I don't know how well I would love Donald Trump if he were in front of me. I sure would like to try. But
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking so clearly.
Thanks, Michael.
I guess I'll have a go. Afraid I can't express myself in the time that we have here for this topic. This has been a matter of focus for me for the last 50 years, extending clear back to my youth, being raised in I think what most reasonable people would call a religious cult, and having been spared from a life of that measure due to the early death of my father, here I am today. But having watched the current situation arise through political manipulations in this country dating back to my observation 1979 when or 1980 when Lee Atwater was running Ronald Reagan's election campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And figured out that through the manipulation of what was called language, but what I choose to call vocabulary, that certain people could be motivated to participate in the electoral process. So by selecting specific words and then applying brainwashing techniques to those words, they were able to engage a previously inactive portion of the prospective electorate to vote for Republicans. And that was the birth then very shortly thereafter of the folks that are leading the Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And they simply, Ronald Reagan, in my opinion, was our first puppet president that, really liked the idea of being president, but didn't really want to be engaged in all of the intricacies of doing that, and had people who would do that for him. And we have the same situation now, what I perceive going on around the world, that these people who are broken and don't have that good, solid connection between what they're able to do and what they, if they were healthy, what they might be able to do.
Yeah.
But I'd like to read just a couple of items that have been very impactful in the work that I've done. First, going back to the 90s, was John Ralston Saul's The Unconscious Civilization.
Huh.
Interesting.
And the really interesting graphic on the cover jacket of this book, if you look very closely, are
Oh,
thousands of sheep packed
Sheep.
together.
oh, yeah. Okay.
And Saul in this book is talking about corporatism.
Oh, yeah.
And I would just say that in my endeavors, I have distinguished between the human ability of moral reason and the binary or two-dimensional tools that we create that lack any capacity of morality. And that includes corporations, governments, all of the non-human entities that we have given political
So
power,
much power.
legal power to. Okay.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, Saul in this unconscious civilization is talking about consciousness, about being aware of what's going on and being aware of what those things are. And in the last paragraph of this book, he says, the virtue of uncertainty is not a comfortable idea. But then a citizens-based democracy is built upon participation, which is the very expression of permanent discomfort. The corporatist system depends upon the citizens' desire for inner comfort.
Yeah.
Equilibrium is dependent upon our recognition of reality, which is the acceptance of permanent psychic discomfort. And the acceptance of psychic discomfort is the acceptance of consciousness.
Whoa.
Wow.
And then I'd like to go to Amitai Itzione's The Spirit of Community. This may be showing up backwards, but
No, no, it's
anyhow,
not.
in here well, I don't remember which chapter it is, but he's talking about rights versus rightness. And he says the language of rights is morally incomplete. And let me just digress and say that when I think of soul, I'm thinking about that spiritual dimension of the human life experience, okay, that is unique to the human life experience. The language of rights is morally incomplete. To say that I have the right to do X is not to conclude that X is the right thing for me to do. And then he goes through some examples of this, but he says there is a gap between rights and rightness that cannot be closed without a richer moral vocabulary, one that invokes principles of decency, duty, responsibility, and the common good, among others. And in my 50 years of studying this issue and being personally concerned about the attack on vocabulary and about the human evolution's ability to adjust to the speed at which those attacks on vocabulary were happening, and my quest to understand was at what point is the human unable to stand the speed and the pressure with which these changes are happening, and as a society we break.
Break down. Mm.
And that's where we're at. I think the human quest for myself, and I try to be very careful when I talk about these kinds of things, because being raised in the dogma of a very specific religious theology, I certainly want to make sure that it's clear that my ideas are my own, from my own experiences. I'm not trying to convince anybody that they should be theirs. I simply share them because the path and the point at which I'm at now in my understanding of these things is very personal. And I expect that they're very personal to every single person who delves into these matters. But the thing that I've learned, I think, for myself is that the distinction between language and vocabulary is a very important distinction.
Mhm.
Language is the ability to hear things and make meaning of them and retain them and recall them and share them and all of the mechanisms that go on in our physiology to make that possible. Vocabulary is quite different. We have thousands and thousands of vocabularies. We have industry specific vocabularies for every profession. There's a set of vocabulary that's specific to that. There are some areas, though, that we haven't, as a human society, really delved into developing a universal vocabulary for. Religion is one of those things. Mental health is another one of those things. This issue of soul, I put that sort of in the realm of religion. We've left it up to the churches to figure that out. George Washington, in his farewell address, said, "Don't be too hasty to dismiss the importance of the church." He said, "It may be that the schools are able," and then I'll add lib, "it may be that the schools are able to teach and nurture and foster moral behavior, but we don't know that." And that had been left up to the churches. We still leave it up to the churches. Okay, gotta go. Like I said, not enough time.
Yeah, I get it. Oh, Everett, thank you. Those two books, I can't wait to get them. I've never heard of either of them, and so thank you. Those look like absolutely a hand in glove fit with this work. Thank you so much. I am very willing to keep this space open for 10 to 15 minutes more. However, I know that there are some people who have a hard stop now
Yep.
and really must go. What I'd like to ask of you before you sign out, those of you who have to go right this moment, is would you just give us one or two words of what you're leaving with? What are you left with after this time together? Could you just give us a little checkout of that kind?
Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard stop in 3 minutes here, so I'll just say, yeah, it's very good to hear everybody's points of view and ideas and sharings and beautiful concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very heartening. So I'm grateful for the group and I'm grateful for everybody's contributions. It's a very good thing, very important these days. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
And I
Yeah.
believe Cindy, you need to get going.
Yes, I have to pop off too. And I'm popping off with a sense of longing to stay. I am just appreciating and relishing this connection. And I will be carrying it into a protest. And I think this conversation has really, or I don't know what language, I don't know what vocabulary I'm going to put on my signs yet. But, and it was so funny you bring that up because I was so stuck on that before this call too. Like words are, I can't think of any words that describe what I'm trying to get across.
Mhm.
And in any case, it's a small problem to have. I think the big issue is the presence that I'm bringing, and I will bring a little piece of presence for all of you that to make some soul connections in my own community. And so thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sadiq.
You.
Is there anybody else who has to go sooner?
I do.
Go now. I'm sort of having to work while I'm on the call, so I'm sorry
I'm
for
going.
distracting. So I've got to go. Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
Chris. Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
I'll say a few words before I pop off. Thanks,
Yes.
everybody. Really touching to witness all of your sharing and this enlightened community who cares, who's open-minded, compassionate, earth connected. So it's it's an honor to be present. I feel like I've prepared my whole life for this moment, doing soul work, and I'm doubling down on it. I'm doubling down on the soul work, the grief work, holding compassionate spaces for people. And I just love the idea of expanding our capacity for resilience, because we are brilliant humans and we have resources within
Need to be.
us of instinct as well as heart-led capacity to, I think, create systems, create communities that can overcome what we're facing now. I really believe that. So thank you very much, Dean. I appreciated when you dropped in and you connected in with your nervous system in that moment. And I think that's something that I'm trying to bring into my life and my work, which is recognizing how the overarching voices in our society right now are trying to dysregulate our nervous system to take control over our emotions. So I'm working on that. And gonna head out into nature today with my soul food. So thank you all.
Cara, so good to meet you. Hope
Thank
that
you.
we will see you next Saturday. The next Saturday we are together.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Is there somebody else who would like to check out with us and let us know what you're left with after this time together?
I think I'm kind of speechless
Okay.
at the moment, but in a good way. You know, I feel there's been a lot shared, and the information on the Republicans and 2025, and what else was there? What did you call it? Oh, the Christian Nationalists. Yeah, that's the first time I heard them connected with Project 2025. I kept hearing that term and didn't know what it meant. And of course, Trump denies that he has anything to do with it, right? I've heard him say that. I have nothing to do with Project 2025, you know. But, you know, boy, there was a lot of information shared today. And I just want to say that I've been on a spiritual path since 1991, and it's keeping me grounded. I have daily meditation and satsang once a week, and my closest friends are on the same path, which helps a lot. We meet on the same level, but they tend not to get very involved in not, what are we calling it?
The soul work?
Not the soul work. No, very involved in the soul work, but what you call, you know, the collapse. You know, so it's nice to be able to share it with people who are able to talk about it and focus on it. And if there's anything that I can do, I'd like to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's really great.
yeah, that's me.
Great to have you here. Thank you.
Okay.
Michael, would you like to check out?
I guess I can say the words that were coming to my mind while you were asking the question, just kind of yearning and determination, you know? Feel good. Nice being here with y'all. That's all. Short and sweet.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much. I hope this is not the last time we'll see you.
Yeah. And I'm okay to stick around a little bit if anybody else is and wanting to, for maybe 10 minutes. I don't know what you got. I'm in no rush. It's Saturday afternoon.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
We've still got a couple people left to check out. And Thomas, would you be ready?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say, but I was wondering if we could exchange emails, Dean, privately. Then we can talk about the documentary, maybe stream it, find a streaming date. I found the documentary on a website called DocPlay. It's like a streaming service, but only for documentaries. I found it there. So yeah, maybe if you can send me a private message here in the chat with your email, and then I can get back to you and share the link. And then maybe we could set about finding a date where we can stream it for the group. Because I
Dean,
think
do you have a Discord or public server, Dean?
We have a chat space in the Mighty Networks space that we have online. Otherwise, this is the best way to connect up, is to exchange emails here
Cool.
or in that Mighty Network space.
Okay. Apologies for interrupting.
No worries.
It's just, Dean, you were talking a lot about anti-woke and Christian nationalism and Project 2025.
Yeah.
And I think this documentary really, it's very related to that. Really goes behind the scenes of
Well,
especially the January 6th incident. I think it's a very important documentary, especially for people living in the US. You get like a lot of you see a lot of behind the scenes attempt to undermine the democracy, and so yeah, I think it's very important to see it. So yeah, I would really love to exchange emails, and then we can maybe set up a streaming date.
Very good. I'll make a point of reaching out to you, Thomas, and really suggesting dates and platforms and so on. I think that will help things move along more quickly. So I'll do that. And Carlo, are you ready to check out?
Yep, ready to check out too. Yeah, and for sharing here on like this whole week, I'm really glad to like listen and just to hear other people's point of view and just have like this connection and community that has a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion for each other. And yeah, with regards to soul work, I think what I could do for others and what others can do for me, like my friends, also like other Collapse-Aware servers. Is we could share empathy for one another and also be there to for others to share their grief with us, and also just sharing also things that the soul enjoys, art, music, movies, things like that, to share time with one another. Yeah, so that's all I want to say.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's a good point, Carlo.
Thank you.
To share pleasant things to lift people's spirits.
Yep. Yeah.
That's very important right now.
Yes.
And Everett, I'm wondering if, you did have plenty to say and share in your last sharing time, but is there anything you'd like to check out with?
No, it's delightful to be with the group and to hear everybody's thoughts. And just the fellowship is gratifying. And I look forward to future sessions.
Yeah. It is really a gift to have you here. It's so obvious that you have been at this for a lifetime, and it's rich whenever you're bringing that depth to the conversation and to the sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for
Is
this.
there any way of contacting you, Everett, if I wanted to?
Absolutely. My email address is my name.
Okay.
Just the way it's spelled, no additional punctuation or hyphen.
Everett Oldham?
EverettOldham@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thank you so much for a remarkable session. Just had no idea how this would go over in terms of the really doubling down on the emphasis on the soul work from here out. And thank you so much for just a juicy and engaged time together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean, for creating this space.
Mm-hmm. You are
and
so
all the
Blessings.
material to go with it.
Blessings to all.
Yeah.